Hey everyone, welcome to Marketing with Russ, the show. Got a great first episode for you today, a local web developer looking to build his brand. There's a lot of topics in this conversation that we cover that many of you will be able to learn from, so stay tuned. Hey, what's going on, Dustin? How are you, buddy?
What's up, Russ? How you doing, man?
Good. Good to see you. Good to hear from you. Why don't you start by telling me who you are and what you do?
Sure. My name is Dustin Hopkins. I build websites. So mostly a design development firm in Worcester, Mass. I have started to add more services now that things are getting more streamlined in my office. And I've been mainly focused on sales and operations. And I need to make a transition into marketing kind of at the start of next year. So I'd like to throw a lot at you, help me to make heads or tails of things and get a good Q1 marketing strategy.
Sweet. I love that. So web developer, can you tell me a little bit more about your business, your market, how you got started? Give me the whole story.
Sure. So I got started in 2015, 2016, just building websites on the side in WordPress while I was working a full-time job. And eventually didn't like the corporate lifestyle, had built up enough clients through this side marketing business that I quit, tried that for a while, spread myself too thin. Being like a one-man full-service marketing agency just doesn't work. However, one of my clients needed me to run one of his businesses. They were investing in this startup and wanted me to be the operations guy. So I did that for 2 years. It was successful. They did a merger and then I went back to doing websites. So now since 2021, we've been full-time with an office in Worcester, kind of just building websites for a lot of local clients. And I'm happy you asked about it because I'm at this inflection point in my business where I've started to pick up some internet businesses or businesses that are of, I'll just say a higher caliber that are further away and they're higher revenue, they're easier to work with. And I'm just kind of at this point where do I continue to try to take over more of this local real estate or do I position my marketing to go after these higher revenue sites through the internet, through just straight up internet marketing?
Gotcha. Yeah, fork in the road for sure. Let's talk more about how you're getting business locally and how you got that business broader, more nationally.
Sure. The whole thing is it's still networking, right? It's still B2B sales is really personal and still need to instill a lot of trust with business owners. So it's still really based on networking. The two larger clients that come to mind, internet clients. One, I went to a conference in Vegas, met a guy. We just stayed in touch over a year, and then eventually they had parted ways with their current web person, and then they needed me on a project, and we've been working well since then. They're a marketing agency in Ohio, so they do full service stuff, but they just have me as their web arm to the business. And the other one is a large scale law firm that does pretty niche areas of business law. And they need me to write SEO optimized blog posts. So that's what I'm doing for them. Both of them are a little higher revenue. And I like those projects a lot. And that's not to say that I haven't gotten larger revenue projects locally. They're just fewer and farther between. So mostly how I get my local clients is through BNI and chamber, networking groups, getting my name out there, meeting with the business owners that I think could make use of a high-end website. Not many businesses do. It takes an owner and it takes a business that is poised to be aggressive with digital marketing. And if the business owner doesn't have that on their direction for the year, then a high-end website doesn't make sense. So it's just meeting a lot of people. Everybody says they want a website, but most of them really aren't poised to take advantage of it. So meeting with people and kind of weeding them out and staying as a a service to people in my network. So if they ever have an issue, they can reach out to me, and eventually some people need some nice websites.
Okay. Sounds good. Let's talk about where you're currently at with your brand and your budget. I think those two things are going to go hand in hand as we move forward in the conversation, just to figure out what you're actually capable of and what your starting point looks like, so we can set some reasonable expectations and stepping stone goals moving forward into, the next few years. A lot of people, like you mentioned, you want to come out with like a launch of your brand next quarter, which is great. But you should only do that with a much longer strategy in mind, because the launch is only the very, very beginning of any marketing plan. So let's talk about that. Like where do you feel like your brand is at currently? Where do you feel like you're able to or willing to invest, or how much are you willing to invest in growing the brand, or doing more outbound marketing to capture the non-local market?
Yeah, it's in a weird spot. When I first made this brand, it started as Kingside Marketing. Now it's Kingside Development. But I started this brand like that same time, 2015. I didn't really know much. I was like into chess at the time. I'm still in chess. I still have like the largest active chess club in Worcester, so like it's still very much a part of me. But it's still like two chess. Like people have no idea what that means, Kingside Development. It's a play on words because you develop the king side of the board in chess, and like nobody knows that unless you're like a huge chess nerd. So it just goes over everybody's head. And I don't feel confident producing content through that brand. Like I feel more disconnected from it now because it's been a while. So I've been going back and forth on doing a rebrand. So we've and I'm not starting from scratch on that. Like we've got a logo we like, we've got a color scheme, we've got a general aesthetic direction that we'd like to move in. But I don't know, pulling the trigger on changing that might be tough, just because I have built up a little bit of notoriety, with this brand. Like it's still been around, 6 years. I've still been talking about it for a while. So I'm worried that if I do a rebranding, I'll kind of lose some traction. But do you think a rebrand is necessary for this Q1?
Do you think that the brand of your business has impacted your sales to date? Not negatively, not positively.
No, I don't think so. I think, because right now I'm doing referrals. So it's like, you should talk to Dustin. It's not, and then like the name of my company is just like a side thing. If I'm doing more outbound marketing, then like the brand takes more of a front seat. And so it feels a little bit more important to me than how I'm getting work now, where it's more based on personal relationships.
Yep. Understood. Okay. I've seen your brand. I like it. I don't think there's any harm in it. I mean, you're looking at a digital marketing company called Namra. The name doesn't necessarily matter. It's much more the reputation behind the name and the colors and the logo. That's what a brand is. It's how do you feel when you think of that name. So this is where it becomes a little bit subjective. If you feel like you are not confident with the current name, if you're not confident in the current brand, and when you go national with your marketing in the future, if you don't like your brand currently, I would recommend rebranding as soon as possible before you consider doing any other marketing, because you definitely don't want to start and then rebrand and then have to start again from scratch. So doing it up front is the most important thing if that's something you would like to do. But from the sounds of it, it doesn't sound like it's we won't know until you do much larger scale marketing. It's much more subjective at this lower level, where you've just done networking. It sounds like you've done a great job building your own personal brand, which means people do trust, your name, the business name, even if you don't, think of it that way. They do trust Kingside because they trust you, right? So I would say that is subjective at this stage. There's no right or wrong answer. It's too early to tell you not to. And it's too early to tell you. You definitely need to rebrand as well, because every brand should have a good story. Sounds like you're a chess guy. It sounds like the people who know you understand why it would be called Kingside Marketing. If they don't, that's a story that can be told through marketing, and that's part of what social media can be a huge part of and help with, is telling the story of why we call it this. Tabling that for now. We'll revisit the branding conversation in the future, because that is subjective, and I'll allow you some time to think about that on your own. Budget-wise, what do you feel as though you're capable of spending on a regular basis to promote yourself in any stream? We'll just go straight marketing budget in your mind for now. What do you think that is?
I think just like from the gut, I feel like $2,000 a month is probably just working with clients that have been under $2,000. I feel like don't get the traction they're looking for. So like when I think of a budget, I want to do some advertising. So like I'm thinking about what I'm okay giving to the tech companies, and I think like maybe it's like $1,000, doing some brand awareness the first month, eventually tailoring the ad strategy to do more conversions. But I feel like it has to be very web focused. So like I do blog writing for clients. So I want to consider my website a client. I want to be producing like a blog post a week that pairs well with a video that I like tag to the blog post, and just like answer really general questions and just start to build up my own organic SEO. And I think targeting WordPress versus Webflow kind of material. That's something we haven't talked about yet, but kind of my unique selling proposition is that I can build in WordPress. I'm experienced in WordPress, but I don't think it's a good option anymore, or as good of an option as it has been, and in replace of other platforms for businesses' websites. So I'm a Webflow expert, and or almost a registered Webflow expert, but I've been doing it for 3 years. I know people well connected in the Webflow space, and I've been building some pretty cool stuff that really looks pretty far beyond what a local like WordPress agency is capable of. And so I'd like to, coming back to the strategy, do I continue to like kind of dominate a local market and saying, I don't build in WordPress. I feel like I am able to compete at this local level pretty well, scoop up a lot of that local business, or position my SEO less locally, more nationally, and just help anybody get off of WordPress onto Webflow, just like nationally.
Okay, got it. So there's a lot of ideas here.
Right. Yeah. I'm just throwing stuff at you. Help me put it in a good order.
Yeah. So what we need to do is figure out what you can actually do sustainably with your current infrastructure, your current bandwidth, right? You're a one-man show. Do you have anybody else on your team who could help you with social media marketing or the implementation of advertisements? Or like, let's say you have the $1,000 a month budget, you're comfortable with spending that. Let me ask you this. Are you comfortable spending that $1,000 a month for 12 months without seeing returns? That's how you should actually set what you are using as your marketing budget, because obviously we want returns, but when you're mentally putting your budget together, you really should be thinking like, what can I do and fully commit to a strategy that is long-term going to pay off in the end, but that you're willing to push through the hardships of, you even mentioned like running, an ad campaign in the first month and then slowly optimizing it over time so it produces more conversions. Now, what happens if the first month doesn't go as well as you'd hoped? Are you willing to continue to spend $1,000 a month every month over the course of, a few months until it is bringing in a return, at which point you start to continue to optimize it? But do you feel like that's a sustainable budget for you, or do you feel like you might panic after a month or 2 months and say that, like, if it's not working, I have to pull the parachute and bail?
It's certainly sustainable for quarter one. It's like I'm looking at the 3-month sprint as if I'm investing this much each month, what is the return I should expect across the 3 months? If I close, we'll say one really good or like 2 smaller websites, pays for itself. That's nice. And then any other kind of recurring clients that come from that's not hard to pay off in those 3 months. If I don't gain any traction those 3 months, yeah, I'm not going to panic, but that would be a bit disappointing if, like, after 3 months we don't gain any traction, So but I am committed to a consistent investment across that first quarter for sure.
Okay. So this is where we're going to sort of try to reframe our mindset, because a lot of people are in that frame of mind where this is what I'm willing to spend for the first couple of months as long as I see returns. And what we want to do is sort of reframe our marketing strategy where this is my path. I actually see a path that I know will pay dividends, hypothetically 2 and 3 years down the line. You want to build a brand. You want to run ads consistently. If ads are the route you choose to go on.
I understand. I understand what you're saying. So let me rephrase a little bit. Like the organic content side of it, yes, I'm committed to consistently putting out, we'll say, to start, maybe a blog post a week and a video a week, for the long term, not expecting any result from that organic. I'm okay investing in, my brother-in-law does some video editing, or he's trying to learn some video editing. So I'm able to hold his hand a little bit and say, these are the videos we're going to make. He's already helped me make a couple of them. So, like, we're getting him up to speed and prepared. And I'm committed to hiring him for a year and to put out a video a week and not expect to get a return from that organic for sure for a long time. The ads are something I would like to get a return on. I think anytime you're running advertising, it should yield a return for sure. The organic stuff, I'm okay not getting a return on. But if I am going to run ads on something, I do expect a return from that ad budget. But I don't know exactly what to run ads on. Is it website design development? Is it some of these, recurring packages that I have, like review automation or SEO blog writing or analytics or things like that? So that's kind of where I'm at with what I expect a return on.
Okay. Do you have any past data that we could look back to for, like, ad campaigns that you've run that have worked well or not worked well?
Never run an ad campaign.
Okay. So this is where we do want to start to reframe our expectations within the first 2 or 3 months of an ad campaign, because it is similar to the organic strategy in that it's almost always slower than you expect in terms of getting returns when you run ads from scratch, because you're setting up a message, you select your value proposition, what your messaging is going to be for the ad campaigns, and you test an ad. You test a campaign, which is typically a series of ads towards a market, right? But you shouldn't change the ads for like 2 or 3 months, even if they're not working, because you have to see if they're working. So to expect returns quickly off of your first ever ad campaign, it's a difficult expectation. And it's something that I want to educate people on, because we don't know what works yet. Right? So any company, you could hire any company to come in, they don't know what works for you yet. They might know what has worked for other developers in other markets, but they don't know exactly what's going to work for you. And so that's why, again, 90% of my job is asking these prying questions, because a lot of people tell me their marketing budget, and I often have to tell them to cut it in half for sustainability purposes, because it does require a lot of troubleshooting, especially if it's your first few ad campaigns. You want to be able to have the patience to let a campaign run for 2 or 3 months and then analyze the data of that campaign and then run another one for 2 or 3 months. So you're already 6 months in and you're still tweaking things, trying to get them to bring in some business. hopefully, the first one goes great and you do get like 10 leads and you convert one of them and you have a successful first campaign. But a lot of times the first campaign isn't successful, especially when there's no past data for a company like us to look back on. That's the first question we ask is, well, what have you done in the past to run ads? If you've run ads for the last 2 or 3 years, you know the messaging that works, you know the market that works, and you know what your click-through and conversion rates are, we can say, all right, well, our job's to make that better, right? So within the next 3 months after you work with a company like us, you can expect to see returns because you're already getting them and we're just working to optimize them a little bit better. But starting from complete scratch, you have no past data, you need to account for a testing phase and a learning phase, which can be, in some cases, 6 to 12 months. So I would work that into your quote unquote marketing budget for the first year for sure. Which is why prior I said, what's hypothetically your budget for 12 months without seeing returns? This is sort of how I'm starting to frame it to people. It's a very dramatic example because, again, you expect to see returns within 12 months for sure. But I want people to start thinking on that level when it's your first campaign ever because it can take longer. So I'd rather see you spend $250 a month, $500 a month over the course of 12 months and allow each of those campaigns its proper time to run its course, truly see what it's bringing in, reevaluate properly, isolate different variables over the course of the next 3 months, and so on from there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I definitely think so. So maybe it's like $500 a month for the first 3 months, and maybe I can ramp it up from there. But kind of using some general numbers, like I'm trying to do like 5% of gross, like projected annual revenue. Like to be like, all right, 5% of what I expect to make for the year, let's put towards marketing and let's split that up across the months. December, things usually calm down, but also I really don't like to take on any new projects in December to just, spend more time with family and stuff. So just kind of like taking December out of it, thinking if I have 10 grand for the year, maybe it's like $500 a month for the first couple of months, get the algorithms of my ads kind of fine tuned and then see what's working and then invest more quarter 2 and 3. Yeah,
I like that. That is typically the approach you want to take. You want to be as conservative as possible through the testing phase or the learning phase, which again, really should be like 6 months of just running stock ads to see what works, what doesn't, isolating different variables and making tweaks over time to see if you can make improvements. Marketing is all about forever making improvements, but especially in the first few months, you sort of need a control set of data, which means you're not throwing every single like ad that you could possibly think of out. You're running what does a stock campaign actually bring me? And then based on that, you start to make like the crazy improvements to the messaging or running special offers and things like that. But you want to have that data. What does one stock campaign actually get me? Let's talk more about because, okay, hypothetically, your monthly budget, for the first 3 to 6 months is $500 a month. Now, depending on how specific you can get with your targeted audience nationally, it's not a very big budget for a national campaign. So my gut tells me with $500 a month, you'd probably want to gear your advertising more towards your local market and expanding out, not even expanding out, starting with the people who currently know you, advertising towards them on Facebook, Instagram. You'd want to mix in some organic content, which we'll get to. Because you don't want to run ads without organic or else there's nothing there when they go to check you out when they see your ad. But I would probably recommend, a locally based ads. You could even start with an audience of, like on Facebook, my friends and their friends. That's an actual set audience through Meta Ads Manager where you can say, I'm going to target my followers and their friends. So it's my circle plus one circle out. And that's a great place to start. In terms of building your local awareness, you'd probably want to run a separate campaign that allows you to target a more specific audience. But my gut tells me that you'd also want to sort of equally build up your local brand, because your local brand is what is going to allow you to expand into a national audience, because the national audience is basically just going to check out where's this guy from, and do the people who are from there actually like this guy? Does he have reviews from the local? Because you're a web developer, they'll work with you if they're in California and you're in Massachusetts, as long as they know that you're crushing it in Massachusetts, right? That's what they will start to look at. So if you're able to build up your local brand, I think you're going to be better positioned in the coming years to start looking at a more national audience for your ads. Does that make sense?
And I was just at this this web conference, and listening to a lot of people. A lot of the same people from last year and this year still came, and very different temperature of the online market between last year and this year. Last year, everybody was making a bunch of money. There's a bunch going on. This year, not a lot of people had the same kind of optimism and energy, but I'm still booking work from the local scene. So I was one of the few that had consistent work. It seemed like a lot of these online streams for these other designers and developers were kind of drying up. So I like the idea of better positioning and taking over more of this local market. So let's talk a little bit more. Do you mind if we talk a little bit more about the local market?
Yeah, let's do it.
Like, really, everybody is a WordPress agency. Like, a lot of local web businesses are one of two things. They're either like budget WordPress template builds, and they say that they're a designer, but they don't actually design the site. They just choose a template and they move your content around in a well-organized way, which is not what a web designer is, but they say that they are web designers in that sense. And then there are actual design development agencies, and they charge like $20K for a site and up, and they're like bigger studios and they have these big budgets and they work with big companies. And I think I'm kind of somewhere in the middle, where I've learned these newer technologies that streamline a lot of that dev design process. And so I'm able to produce something that looks like a 15 or 20K site and functions in that way, but for, between 10, 12, 15. And so it's a good kind of pocket that I fall into, where people who are on WordPress don't want to look like everybody else with a WordPress site, and they want to upgrade and look different and stand out. Mm-hmm. So that's at least as far as I've understood about who the clientele is and where I fit in the local market. And then they also just want it to produce. They want it to produce leads. They want it to make sure that it has a dashboard for analytics, so they can see how many people come to the site and how many people convert. And so they can just more simply look at how effective their website is on a monthly basis. So that's kind of, at least as far as I've understood so far, what the market is. Okay.
How do you feel like the Webflow versus WordPress value proposition is being received in the local market? Do people understand the difference?
They don't understand the difference, but they can see the difference. They can see like, oh, okay, yeah, that's what I expect. The phrase I get is like, oh yeah, that's what I expected a visually appealing website to look like. That they will pay for a company that says they will do that, and that they use WordPress, and then what they get is a template, and they feel like, okay, yeah, it looks like the template you showed me, where like I can show people some examples of sites, and then their site looks unique to them, And so I'm able to build things that are unique, and people may not understand the back end or the complexity or the code or whatever, but they can. I've tried to build websites that stand out, so you can see just on two different screens, here's a website from somebody else, and here's mine, and we look a lot different.
Great. Okay, so you have the sort of before and after examples, or a WordPress versus Webflow visual examples. And this is all really, really important stuff, which we can dive deep into, because now we're talking about your organic strategy, right? Your local market, and, pretend we're not advertising at all. What sort of messaging can you put out there to actually show and educate people on the difference between who you are and what a typical web developer is, because there are not a lot of Webflow developers out there, right? And everybody knows WordPress, Wix, Squarespace, all the templated platforms. Not many people, I mean, I'm a marketing guy, I just learned of Webflow a couple years ago, right? So you would want to really hammer out as much education as possible. To build awareness of Webflow is to build awareness of your own company. You're a Webflow agency as opposed to a WordPress agency. That's a huge difference. You know it's a huge difference. It allows you to build a $40,000 website for $12,000, but you need to market towards the people who are, they want a custom site. They just don't have $40,000. And there's a lot of people who want a $2,500 website who maybe are not your customers, right? And so we need to create a niche for you in that middle ground through, I would say, proper education.
Yeah, I agree. Because like a Webflow hosting costs the exact same as a Squarespace hosting. Like Webflow is pretty competitive with their pricing for their hosting. It's the exact same price as Squarespace, but what you get is just so far ahead of what's out there. So it's okay. So, but what do you think I should focus the education on? Do you think I should focus? I don't know. I could probably do a little bit better research on what people are searching for. Are they searching for platform specific? Or I think everybody I talk to, very rarely do I talk to somebody that doesn't have a website yet, right? It's so simple for anybody nowadays. You can go find your nephew in high school or somebody on Facebook will build you a Wix site in a weekend. You can go on Fiverr or Upwork and spend $150 to $500 to somebody who's going to build you a website in 2 days, and it's going to be templated, but you're going to have a website. So everybody I talk to does have one, but they want a better one. That's we build better websites. So
all right, well,
do I position the education on Squarespace versus Webflow and take these platforms one at a time and educate on what the transition looks like between the two?
What does a better website get you as a business owner?
Higher conversion rates. So if somebody lands on your site, and what percentage of those people, one, are qualified for to buy what you're selling, and two, that they convert to a lead or whatever your call to action is. For most people, it's a contact form. So do they arrive on your site and fill out a contact form? That's,
I would say, one clear message that you could put out there on a consistent basis, right? So what we want to do is, and there's always many things, many benefits to hiring any company, right? So people get bogged down by well, we're good at this and we're good at this and we're good at this and that. And that's too many things to put out there in your true marketing messaging. You want to consolidate it to one, tops 2 or 3 things that you're really, really good at, but it should be 80% that one thing. It's called the purple cow in marketing, and there's a whole book about it. One of my mentors taught me about it. Exactly. And the concept of the purple cow is that if you're driving by a big farmhouse, you're going to notice the purple cow. And so you need to really, really harp on the one thing that you're good at and educate people consistently on that thing. So if that thing is increasing your conversion rate, I think that could be a largely hot button topic for a lot of companies out there who do have a marketing budget, who are running ads towards their current homemade $500 website and are not, that maybe they're getting the clicks, the ads are working, there's tons of traffic coming into the website, but the website is not converting, or it's not converting as well as it could. So they're leaving money on the table, right? Because the website is just not the conversion machine that you're able to build. So how do we target those people? Does it sound like that would be your primary target audience? Businesses who are running ads and generating traffic. So they're kind of crushing it on social media already organically. They've also got, $1,000, $1,500, $2,500 a month going on Google ads and Facebook ads. They've gotten their engine going already and they are generating traffic. And maybe the website's doing okay, but they know, and we all know, it could do a lot better if it was a more custom site. But they think that a custom site costs 50 grand because that's what like the A-list companies have, and that is what it costs at like the super, super high level. But you're able to do it for 15 or 20. And so how do we talk to those people about what you do?
That's a good, I'm kind of pausing a little bit on the increased conversion rate part, because it doesn't seem like, I don't get a lot of feedback for that. Like to me, seeing the analytics of before and after sites, I notice a difference in conversion rate, and that's what matters to me. But really what matters to most clients is that it looks like they feel good. It's like getting a new suit for your business. Okay. Like it instills so much confidence in a business owner. And if it ideally a new website makes you look really good, makes you feel more professional when people are looking for you, and it books consistent leads. So like, that next month you can you don't have to work as hard. I'll back up a little bit. Like every business owner always has that twinge of like, I don't know if next month work is going to come in so I can pay all my people, right? Like everybody always has that like in the back of their head until they're like really established. Even when they're really established, everybody always feels like, oh, maybe this is the month I have to go get a job, right? And pack everything up. It's like a little silly, but knowing that when somebody is Googling or that when somebody looks into you, they're going to arrive on a site that makes you look super professional and it books consistent leads. Like that's the spot where I think most business owners want to be in. And like a good design and like if it's producing leads, like yes, it is converting, but ultimately like the words I hear from clients are it needs to look visually professional and just book leads. Like it's just a numbers game from them. Like, yes, I want to be bringing in an extra 10 or 15 sales calls a month. And I would like my website to be a magnet for that and just producing it. So I would say like visually appealing and increased leads are like the things.
Well, okay, let me ask you this. What would you say is the pain point that drives them to call you the most? Is it, I don't like how my website looks and I want it to look more professional, or it is that one?
That is what drives them to call me and have the conversation. And then when I ask them, well, do you want it to produce more? Like, do you want it to produce more leads or do you want it to look fresher? They say both. Every single time they say both.
But they're calling you because of the look for the most part.
For the most part, yes. They're like, ooh, I don't look as professional as my competitor. That is almost entirely the point, is they randomly Google their competitor and they go, whoa, okay. Like they upgraded their site and now I look terrible. And that's honestly, that is most of the conversations.
Okay. So maybe we don't target the messaging is not all about conversion rates. It's just about the look. You need to rebrand your site. So you target people who are dealing with, is it often that they've hired a company prior to hiring you and like somebody else built their site, or is it mostly people who did build their own site through like Wix or some templated?
Mostly those people don't have the budget, to be frank, and like they should really focus on the operations of their business right now. Like anybody, in the first 2-3 years of a business, like there's a lot to figure out before you get like stabilized, and a website is not going to make that much of a difference the first couple of years. Like really, it's not. Right. Like, and every business owner knows that.
The hustle matters more than the website at that stage.
Correct. Yeah. And you should be hiring the right people and getting a good team in place and like figuring out your processes and your contract. And like in that period, even if they've hired somebody else or they have built it themselves, like it's not a good time for a website. But a business that either built it themselves or hired another company and is at that like 3 to 5 year mark or more, and they've just had a website for a while and they're looking for an upgrade. That's kind of usually where they're at.
Okay. What do you think those people want to hear in order to guide them towards you? So like they're looking for web development companies, right? They're Googling for companies like you.
They want to hear custom design and produces leads every month. Like that's really what I think they want to hear.
Okay. Custom design is the keyword.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. No templates, right?
Mhm.
And it's like which can be weird because I have used templates, to build, we'll say, custom sites for people, but it's very different between the platforms. If you download a template and install a template through WordPress, it's really tough to like manipulate that template to something custom. Sometimes I'm able to install a template and like it helps, but then it ends up being a custom site because I'm just having a conversation with an owner on what they want, what they look for, and then I build pages that are custom that accommodate that.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
really everything I'm doing, even if they have a lower budget and we start with a template or something, they're still at the end getting something that's very customized to exactly what they're looking for.
Okay, so you get customers in two ways. You're getting referrals from your local market, or you're getting people who you don't necessarily know or you're not connected to, but they're Googling custom design. They're likely not Googling the like increased conversion website. That's not really the keyword, right? So they're just searching custom website developer, custom website company. I think it might make sense given that we're sticking to the local market. I think like $250 a month on Google ads targeted towards custom website keywords could do you really well. And I would just like set it like we talked about earlier. Set it for like 3 months, see how that campaign runs. After 3 months, take a look at the keywords, see if you can tweak anything, see how that campaign runs, see if it goes up or down, and then use that information to improve on, the third quarter's ads. And if you can get yourself to the point where you're optimizing $250 a month of Google ads, that can be a hefty enough budget. It's not a crazy budget, but if you target your audience properly, you go towards the right people in a small enough geographic region, like maybe just your city or just your state, you can get to the point where that budget is bringing in, a couple leads a month and you make 12 grand off of one site. So you only need 1 or 2 good jobs over the course of a year for that budget to more than pay itself off. But I would start there, and it goes back to the patience on the campaign side. Don't increase the budget for like 6 months, 9 months, 12 months. Once you feel like you've really dialed in that $250 a month on Google, then I would say like, all right, let's do 500 and see if we can double the amount of conversions we're bringing in, and then continually improve from there. That eliminates the sporadic, like 3-month campaign here. Oh, it didn't work, so I'm gonna shut it down and do Facebook ads instead because Google doesn't work. And then, sporadically doing a Facebook campaign and like not seeing that all the way through. And then you end up flip-flopping for 2 years, hiring different marketing companies like every 6 months for, we see it all the time. You hire a different marketing company every 6 months for the last 5 years. And it's like, man, if you just stuck with one of them for 5 years, even if they were just average, they probably would have gotten you a hell of a lot further over the course of 5 years than if you just kept starting over, re-strategizing, starting from scratch every 6 months because you didn't have a methodical, long-term plan to learn and improve over time. So that's what I sort of want you to think about with the ad strategy. And the organic is just as much as you can do. Doesn't sound like you're going to have a huge video production budget, but it does sound like you've got a cell phone and a brother or brother-in-law who's willing to help you edit some videos. So I think you can make a lot of progress on the organic side of things, just posting a few times a week on a regular basis. And that's what I would prescribe to you is post. Start with what you can do. You're a one-man show. So committing to being like, I'm going to post every single day for the rest of my life, you're going to be done in 3 months and you're never going to post again. So realistically, how much can you post? Carve out how much time it takes for you to shoot, edit, upload one video. And then figure out how much time you actually have in your calendar. To time block for the content creation and for the posting on different platforms. Doing that consistently, again, even if it's just 1, 2, 3 posts a week over the course of a longer period of time is going to yield way better results than if you do a sporadic, like I'm going to post every day for 3 months and then everything will be great. It never goes that way. You want to slowly build things up in a sustainable way so that in 2 or 3 years from now, you look back and you go, wow, I'm glad I started small because now I am spending $2,500 a month on Google ads, and they're freaking cranking because we did all of the slow research and testing phases up front with the smaller budget. Same thing goes for organic. When the time comes to produce real serious videos and increase the quality of the production, you have already done all this past research by posting on your own, figuring out what topics actually resonate with your audience locally. That provides you all the insight you need to eventually create more professional videos and boost them on Facebook to a national audience in the future. But you don't want to do that until you know what those 3 main hot button topics are. Otherwise, you're putting a lot of resources into a bunch of random topics that you're testing at a high production level, and that's way more expensive than doing it methodically over time. So it's frustrating to people to hear this because it's always about patience and a methodical, slow plan that eventually leads to everything being optimized and things running smoothly, like conversions coming through your website on a regular basis, as you said, like the peace of mind that my business is bringing in sales on its own and I don't have to worry about it. That's not a 3-month turnaround. It's never a flip the switch on, okay, Google's on, Facebook's on, so now it works. It is not that easy. If it was, I'd be a millionaire and I'd be the only marketing, there wouldn't be many marketing agencies because it would be 2 or 3 that knew how to do it and that'd be it. But there's tons, and we're all trying our best to really get things up and running for people. And it requires a lot of troubleshooting and patience and testing things properly, isolating variables, things like that. So does that help sort of reframe how to approach the next? Hopefully it helps you, because we were talking about, the first 3 months when we started the conversation. I brought you towards thinking about the next 5 years, right? So hopefully that helps you reframe what your strategy will be in the next 3 to 6 months.
Yeah, I think what I can commit to for organic is at least 1 video a week. I think I can commit to that for sure.
That's great.
And start there. What platforms do you think just post? I I don't know, a 60-second video that then leads to a blog post that elaborates for more. I know I can do that, and I know that Google likes it. So I know I can commit to that and just put it across every platform and see also after 6 months, which platform is generating the most traction.
Yeah. I mean, you're at a point where you're not really going to want to post different content on different platforms yet. I mean, you have to have a pretty massive
same piece of content.
Yeah, same piece of content on all your platforms. The primary 3 we always tell people to start on are Facebook, Instagram, and Google, because those 3 platforms just have the broadest audiences across the board. Once you're crushing those, oh yeah, LinkedIn's also great. LinkedIn would be 3.5, especially for somebody like you who's doing you're in the local market, you're doing a lot of personal sales still and personal branding work. So posting on your own personal LinkedIn would be great. It can't hurt to set up a business page for your business just to have the brand there. Don't expect a lot of people to follow you on LinkedIn on the business page, but your personal account can do really well. And if the videos originate on the business page, this is what we tell everybody. You want to have the business pages so that the content originates on the business page. And then you, Dustin, you share the business page's content to your personal accounts. So it trains your current Facebook friends, LinkedIn connections, Instagram followers to go follow your business, because that is actually where this content's coming from. And slowly but surely, the friends who care and the business owners who you network with who are interested, they're just going to follow Kingside because, they realize you're just sharing their posts anyways. But yeah, I mean, and it goes back to what you can do sustainably, right? So if you can handle Facebook, Instagram, Google, LinkedIn, and even uploading those videos once a week to YouTube, you should do that. But only do what you can actually sustainably commit to for the long haul. because your capacity will grow. As your business grows, you'll be able to hire somebody to publish on more platforms, create more content. But you yourself have to start with something that's sustainable. It's not going to burn you out. And now that you feel confident in what you're working towards, it becomes a hell of a lot easier to be patient and commit to the process and know that if I put the building blocks in place right over the short term, the long-term results are going to be that I do have the capacity to spend more, create more, and scale things up.
Yeah, I'm liking this. I've got like December tentatively blocked out for this rebrand. Like I haven't taken on any more work, or I've got enough projects to last me the end of the year. So like, and new projects I'm booking in January.
Great.
Only because I tried to do a rebranding last year, but I tried to do it in like February, March. And then there was a huge uptick in March and April, and it got like pushed to the back burner. So if I'm going to do it, I feel like now's the time to do it. So December will be the month to like get my new site done, get business pages set up across all of these platforms, like with this new branding. It seems like mostly educational content. Just do like a video a week on a bunch of different topics, the same video across all the platforms to see which one does well, like 250 to Google just to get some traffic on my new site and to see how people are using it and optimize my site. And, there's a lot of benefit to just like having more traffic to my site and using analytics to see where do they drop off, how can I tweak it and stuff. So as I increase over time, I get better at that too. And then just talk about custom design. Just talk about like that's really my main offer, right?
Yeah, and I would even go. So you did mention you had $500 a month, right? So we're only using $250 on Google. I think you can be experimental on Facebook and Instagram with meta ads and run some more call to action-y type posts. I would organically, you want to do the education stuff, right? 1 minute tips and tricks on how to optimize your site, or things you can do to improve the conversion rate on your own with your Wix site, or whatever it is. You could teach people how to do things for free, but every once in a while trickle in a call to action. Hey, if you're looking for a site, if you're looking for a custom site, and we would have to spend a little more time together to think of the exact messaging and calls to action, but I could even see a case where you're saying like, do you want a $50,000 site? Well, I can build it for 15. Everybody sort of wants that, and that might cause people to wonder how that's being done. And then it's like, well, enter Webflow education and talk to them about this new tool that allows you to build the Lamborghini for the price of the Corolla, right? Maybe that is the thing. And like you said, if you have the capacity to write some blogs about that and make some videos where it's click the link to view the blog and learn more, I think that would be great. Post the blogs on LinkedIn. I think all in you'll be posting, but say you commit to just the one video a week, I think you'd end up posting 2 or 3 times a week if you also like post the link to the blog as one post, maybe make a graphic template on Canva that says new blog released, go check the website, with a little title and a little blurb about what the blog's about. Things like that, where over time, if you keep doing it consistently, when the time comes, all those local people will see your stuff, and they may not be interested now. But like, this is where the slow and steady wins the race comes into play. You can't post or run an ad and expect people to be ready to buy now. It's a web development company. It's not a restaurant, right? Restaurants can run ads and see results in 4 days. Because it's who's hungry right now, right? That's an everyday thing. But a website's like a once every 5 or 10 year thing for a business owner. So you have to be a sniper if you're trying to run ads and see results immediately. But over time, you educate people on a regular basis. The people who you network with in the chamber and in BNIs, they see that you're regularly putting out information and that you know what you're talking about. And then when the time comes that they are thinking about a website, you are top of mind and you're who they go to first. And that's sort of like what the goal should be. And then, the national stuff will come. As you become a resource for the local people, you generate more reviews, you build the business a little bit more and get to the point where you have like a $2,000, $3,000 a month budget for Google ads, then I'd say hit all of New England for a year. and see what that brings in. And if you start crushing it in New England, expand out even further, go full East Coast. A lot of people just see that like 0 to 100 like pipe dream plan, and that's not how it works. And so hopefully this helps you reframe sort of like the stepping stones that are required and that you should focus on to get yourself to the next level that allows you to continue to scale things up.
Yeah, no, I feel pretty confident the next couple of months. Like, I know what I need to do kind of in what order. I was worried about things that don't seem to matter, like choosing the right platform and things like that. And it's like, yeah, it is more experimental. It's more like, well, let's just try them all. Let's just produce one piece of content and spread it out, spend the time
at
to
this level,
yes. Yeah.
Like if I'm talking to Coca-Cola, they have an entire marketing team dedicated to Instagram, dedicated to Threads, dedicated to Facebook. It's a different narrative for each one based on their millions of followers sample size of data that allow them to see like, oh, all of these people who follow us are more oriented towards this type of content on this platform. But man, do you need to create a lot of data in order to actually make like good judgment calls on what content should be created on each platform for your audience. That's like major league thinking. And it's not uncommon for very small business owners to think on that level, because you think, well, that's what the big companies do. I have to do that. It's like, no, like you only have control over what you can do right now, capacity wise, and it requires a massive capacity for content creation and data analysis to decide I'm going to do different things on LinkedIn than I'm doing on Instagram and Facebook. It's a higher level conversation. So.
Well, thanks, Russ.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I hope this helped. I would love for you to follow back up in 6 to 12 months and let me know, let the future followers of this show know how things have gone, what progress you've made, and we'll reevaluate things and talk about what you can do in your second year. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, let's go. Yeah, 6 month follow. Okay, now I've got the test at the end of the 6 months. Now I'm definitely locked in.
Yeah, exactly. Hopefully, yeah, exactly. Hopefully that'll keep you committed to it as well. So, well, I appreciate you calling in. I'm always here to help if you do have any other further questions. A lot of these things do require deeper conversations and more brainstorming, so I'm always here to help. And good luck with everything moving forward, man.
Thanks, Russ.
Awesome.